Hey guys, this is Marc Goldberg from Marc Vlogs Watches, and I've had an epiphany. I've had a eureka moment. I think I figured out the secret to the meaning of life. It's the mystery that has been a veil over the entire subject of Rolex, Steel Sports, Rolex supply, the Rolex bubble, the Rolex shortage. It came to me in a flash, and now I understand absolutely everything. And I'm going to share with you. I'm going to bring you into my world. I'm going to tell you the secret of life. But first, let's do the quick fist watch check, and here it is. Today, guys, I am wearing the Rolex two-tone Sky Dweller with that creamy white face. It has quickly become one of my favorite watches. Okay, guys, here's the meaning, here's the secret, here's everything. Rolex has become a limited edition company. Not every Rolex is a limited edition, okay? So you can buy, there's Datejusts galore, there's Cellini galore, or is it Cellini? Some of you tell me it's Cellini. I think it's Cellini, but nonetheless, those are not limited watches. But Rolex has taken the Submariner, the Explorer 2, the Sky Dweller, everything Steel Sports, the Milgauss. Latecomers to the limited edition concept have been the Milgauss and the Explorer 2 and 42 millimeter. Initially introduced, literally introduced as limited editions were the Sea Dweller in 43 millimeters, the James Cameron in 44 millimeters, the Submariner Hulk, the Batman, all of it. So really what Rolex has done with sports watches is they've gone limited edition and they've gone super exclusive premium limited edition. But there's nothing in sports Rolex actually, which is not limited edition. Now mind you, the Daytona in gold, the Submariner in gold, the precious metal, Yachtmaster 2, that 44 millimeter behemoth with that weird 10-minute regatta complication. Most useless complication in horology, if you ask me. But at any rate, those watches, you sometimes see them available at the authorized dealer and you may think, aha, Marc, that is not a limited edition watch, and they are in the sports line. I beg to differ, sir. Those are limited edition, but because they're in precious metal and they're so much more expensive, you know, in the $40,000 range, there are fewer buyers for those watches, and therefore, even though they're producing very limited numbers of them, occasionally you are likely to see them available in the authorized dealer. That's why you may see a all gold Sky Dweller occasionally at an authorized dealer, but you're hardly ever, if ever, going to see a steel one, let alone the holy grail, you know, the unicorn made out of unobtainium, the blue steel Sky Dweller. You're just not going to see that anywhere, and I dare say you're barely going to see this two-tone one either. So what is a limited edition? Well, they haven't declared that it's a limited edition, but I have. They're just making and shipping far, far fewer of them. And I think that this is a strategy on the part of Rolex. This is a well-considered, planned out strategy for the very long haul. Okay, so first, companies like Omega with the Far Side of the Moon, they have issued limited editions where they are above board and they are stating, here's how many pieces we are making, limited edition, and in some of these limited editions, they're even numbering them. Like, you know, here's piece 107 out of 1,000. Recently, Seiko introduced they discontinued the Sarb Alpinist, but they reintroduced a limited edition, made 1959 pieces of a blue one, and those sold out in like 10 minutes. But what those companies are telling you how many pieces they are making in their limited editions. Rolex has never said we are making all our sports watches now in limited editions. They have never said that, but it's clearly what they're doing. Why do I say that? Because there hardly are any of them. Moreover, I made a video about the new cases, the physical furniture, the cases that are intended to store sports watches in the Rolex authorized distributor or authorized dealer. Rolex has downsized, made smaller those cases so they don't look quite as empty. And they have asked or informed the authorized dealer that instead of leaving them completely blank now, they will fill them in with date justs. And I made a video all about that, which I will drop into the comments section of this video. But finally, today it occurred to me that they've actually decided on a strategy that is a well-considered, well-thought-out strategy. Like, listen, guys, Rolex is not stupid. They've been around a very long time. They have studied this market. They know precisely what they are doing. Do you think that some machine broke and therefore they can't produce enough watches? Do you think that they have misread market demand and it'll just take them 2-3 years to catch up? Do you think they didn't predict what was going to happen in China regarding the anti-corruption laws that reduced their sales in China? Yeah, baloney. They knew all of this. If Rolex wanted to turn on the production spigot, they could do it overnight. In 6 months, they could, maybe 8, but they could quickly, in way less than a year, they could flood every authorized dealer with umpteen submariners. They could put so many blue steel Sky Dwellers in authorized dealers that premium, that's a $14,000 watch that is selling for $23,000. And they could just plummet that if they wanted to. They could just destroy the premium on that overnight, instantaneously. Are they controlling supply in order to starve out the gray market? Poppycock, I tell you. That's baloney. They don't care about the gray market. They want to sell watches, and they can sell as many watches as they want to. And they really don't care about the collector, and they don't care about the gray market. So really the question becomes, what does Rolex care about? Now here's where the mystery comes in. You guys have to remember the Swatch Group, Richemont. These are publicly held companies. Even Breitling, which is owned by an investment banking group, those companies and all the brands that they own, which include Omega and Blancpain, and pretty much every major brand of watch that you've ever heard of, all of those are publicly held or are responsible to shareholders, but not Rolex. Hans Wilsdorf died and left Rolex. He was the founder of Rolex, and he died and left Rolex in the form of a charitable trust. So Rolex is a very mysterious charitable foundation. No doubt they are answerable to a board of directors, to the foundation. But what they are not answerable to are shareholders who own stock in the company. So there are no mutual fund managers who are able to put pressure on Rolex. So why would Rolex reduce supply? Why would Rolex become literally, figuratively, and technically limited edition on all sports models? Why would they do that? I believe that they are looking to preserve the cachet of the brand, and that they have decided that for the time being, brand cachet, exclusivity, ultra luxury is the direction that they want to go in. And they are not thinking ahead to the next quarter. You know, if you guys work in a retail store, you know that your retail store is constantly comparing, how did we do this month versus last month? How did we do this month, this year versus this same month last year? If you sell cars, you know you have a quota, and they're looking at your sales on a monthly and a quarterly and an annual basis. If you're a mid-level manager, you may not be responsible for sales, but you know that your company is constantly looking at their bottom line, their top line, and comparing how are they doing this quarter, this year versus last year. And God forbid you work for a publicly held company, well, you know there's an intensive amount of pressure to produce profit. Rolex is a non-profit foundation. They are beholden to nobody other than themselves. And so I think the handwriting is on the wall. They have decided to go from being simple, upscale, but still relatively affordable tool watches, which is what they were 10, 15 years ago. Rolex was a tool watch. You go back 20, 25 years ago, boy, these sports watches that we can't get enough of now, they were cheap, and the dress watches were expensive. I mean, there was a time when you could get a submariner for $600, $800. Those days are long gone. Rolex has become a super premium luxury brand, and they are controlling the flow. They have become super premium. They have literally become limited edition on everything in the sports line. This is going to continue for a long time. They know that horologically they don't touch Patek, and they don't want to. There's a lot of handwork and hand finishing and hand tuning and hand adjusting in a Patek. So it's actually quite expensive to produce a Patek Philippe watch. Rolex are automated. Now, people do touch Rolex at some point in the construction of each watch, but those damn things are mass produced and they are largely built by robot. Now, rather than say this makes for a poor watch, well, no, let's give Rolex credit. They have invested God knows how many billions and billions of dollars into machinery, equipment. They bought the movement company that made their movements for the last 50 years. They bought their own foundries. They grade and source their own diamonds and gems and jewelry, for when they do jewelry insets and jewelry dials. Rolex can't compete on the basis of horology, so they are going to compete over the long haul on exclusivity. I recommend that you hold on to anything Rolex that you have at this time, because let me tell you what, guys, it's going to get harder and harder to get. Rolex has become limited edition, and they just forgot to tell us. But that is clearly the corporate strategy. I say corporate loosely because really what it is it's the foundation. They don't answer to anybody other than themselves. If they set a goal that's maybe 50 years out, in 50 years, we want to be the most exclusive watch brand known on earth. How could we do that? Well, let's spend $150 million a year in an advertising budget, which they do. Let's make everybody want them, and let's produce very few of them. And let's make these people compete. It's like the purge, trying to get a Rolex watch. So that's what's going on here. I think how's this going to affect the market? I think the gray market will remain strong. I think premiums will grow. And I think that you'll see a huge percentage of the authorized dealers giving up the brand. It's very expensive to carry Rolex because you have to dedicate a whole lot of your floor space and you have to be in the high rent district. And you have to carry exactly whatever inventory that Rolex cares to send you. And they're going to send you mostly stuff that's not in great demand. So I think what will happen is a lot of the authorized dealers will ultimately drop the line and bring on other watches instead. If you don't believe it can happen, well, talk to jewelers, man. A lot of them are stopping diamond sales because kids today, the millennials, the huge percentage of them are either not buying diamond engagement rings at all, they're just going another route, or they're buying diamonds on BlueNile.com, and it's decimating the jewelry industry in some respects. And I think that Rolex watches, I think Rolex, the corporation, which is located in Geneva and is a nonprofit, I think they're about to screw over tons and tons of their own authorized dealer. Remember, the authorized dealer is simply an independent jewelry store owned by somebody that has a distribution contract with Rolex in Geneva. Rolex in Geneva is a nonprofit. They have decided to go limited edition on everything sports. That's going to continue for a long, long time, probably for my entire lifetime. If you want a Rolex, guys, I would get onto it right now before it becomes utterly impossible. There's lots of ways to buy used Rolex, and I'll put a link in the description of how, my tips and tricks on how to do that. But I'll tell you what, it's going to get increasingly hard to get these guys at the authorized dealer, and that's because Rolex has gone limited edition on everything sports. Well, I know this is controversial, so please let's discuss this in the comments. I will be there with you. If you are a first-time viewer, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe and set the alerts so that we can put the bell on so we can do this together. If you are a long-time subscriber, I would like to thank you. This is Marc Goldberg. Let's talk about this in the comments. Peace out.